Yeah, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Tonight, we're talking the best trilogies in UFC history. Is Conor McGregor getting a title shot? And did Leon Edwards get lucky? Call somebody. Call your mom. Ringside Report MMA is live.
Let's go!
Call your mom right now. You tell her.
Man.
You tell her the boys are here. You tell her.
What's up, homie?
You call
Talk
your
about
mom?
mothers, but I need a mom to take care of my little guy. Tonight's going to be one of those very interesting shows because I'm doing it live and I'm babysitting at the same time. So I got my little AJ next to me watching Pepper Pig or whatever it's called. Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig. I don't know.
Peppa.
What? Papa.
Peppa.
That's what I said. Pepper.
You said pepper. There's no ER.
That's what I said.
It's an A. You don't want to say the ER. It's just an A. You know, you can get in trouble saying Pepper Pig.
Why?
Oh, no, that's something else. Anyways, Peppa Pig is what your son, Caden, is watching. Shout out to Caden. And AJ, Caden's mom is not there right now, and she will be at some point. We hope during the show so that you don't have to babysit and talk to me at the same time.
Or run off, with,
Peppa Pig.
trying to chase the kid.
And Georgie Pig and Daddy Pig and Mommy Pig are taking care of little Caden right now, right? You know, I know all about the Peppa Pig. I know about Georgie Pig, Peppa's little brother. You know Georgie Pig? He's my favorite.
I know Georgie. He's so cute.
Georgie's a good guy. So we're here to talk about
nice.
MMA. We're here to talk about the UFC. We're here to talk about sports that matter, not a little game of basketball where you're shooting things in a basket. We're talking about real things that prove something.
Or a puck in a net.
Yeah,
Come on,
I mean,
man.
let's
talk real stuff.
That's silly.
Let's talk the real
That's silly
stuff.
boy stuff.
UFC
All these silly boys out there,
man.
all these silly boys out there thinking that shooting the ball in a net proves anything. Let's talk about some real man shit. Let's talk about some mixed martial arts. You know, I'm sick of all these guys. Oh, basketball is a tough sport. It's not really. Try MMA. It's, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. All these other sports are a joke compared to mixed martial arts, and that's how I truly feel. Baseball's good. I like baseball, but, you know, come on.
Listen, you don't have to be in shape to be, running the bases in baseball. Let's be honest.
You should see this guy Vogelback they have for the Mets. This guy Vogelback, big boy. I saw him, I was like,
even the guy from the Blue Jays,
athlete?
what's his name?
Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Well, Vlad, even the guy, what's his name for the Mets there? He ain't no Kamaru Usman. He ain't no George St. Pierre, man.
I'm hearing myself, AJ.
Are you?
Yeah, I think that's coming through in your...
My headset? Okay,
maybe
let me
your
put
headset,
it in. Here we go.
tighten it out or something. I don't know what's going on. AJ's got all sorts of issues tonight.
No, I actually slipped it a little bit just so I can hear what little AJ's up to. And so far, everything looks good, man. You know what I mean? There was a reason for that. Right now, it should be good.
But
if I keep turning, it's not because I got a kink in my neck. It's because I got to see this little guy, man. He doesn't run out. Or else I'll never hear it again.
So we're going to talk about what? All to say what?
All to say is that there was a few guys in baseball, guys like Bo Jackson or, a few guys that were able to cross sports where they were like beasts, man, top shape, man. These guys were different, you know?
Yeah, sure. I'm just saying MMA I like because it's a real sport with some real shit on the line, you know? All these other sports, it's like they're playing you play basketball, you play baseball, you play hockey. You don't play MMA, you fight.
Well, you know what?
You're not playing.
I'm going to tell you something.
It's not a game.
The difference is this. You got guys that are Olympic level wrestlers who are beasts. These guys are killers, man. And we know a lot of them. You know, we have one of the best wrestling teams or clubs in Canada, the Montreal Wrestling Club. Yeah. All those guys that train there are killers.
Yeah.
And these guys are not making millions of dollars, man, doing a sport that they break their backs every day. And this is what I'm getting at. Sometimes I watch hockey, and I love hockey, but I kind of miss the hockey of the 80s, and 90s and whatnot, where you weren't skating millionaires. You actually had to prove yourself to get a pay raise or bonuses or whatnot. And now, you could be the worst player in the NHL, and you're still making $1 million. I know Angelo knows a lot more than this, but what I'm trying to say is that they're skating millionaires. Where in the UFC, where you get guys that are coming out of wrestling, coming out of different martial arts, where they're making literally nothing, and sometimes paying to continue in the sport. But the thing is this, is that UFC fighters, man, are busting their backs. They're busting their backs.
There he is.
You know, to make what, 50, 60,000?
Of course.
Look at Conor McGregor. Look
Yeah.
at Conor McGregor. $5,000 in his first UFC fight. You know, but he proved it to get where he is today. You know,
He's hungry. He's hungry. Go
you
feed
hear
him.
him?
Go
Damn.
feed him. I'll set up the
Well,
show. You go feed him. Take a break.
You said it. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ringside
Yeah,
Report.
he's
where
hungry.
everything's live.
You go.
This is Daddy Daycare.
AJ's gonna
Say something.
Daddy, I'm hungry.
Come here. Say
He's
something.
hungry.
He's hungry.
I heard him. I heard what he said. He's hungry.
Okay, no fries, but come here.
There goes AJ on daddy daycare duty right now.
Don't leave there. This is the boogeyman. Come over here, kid.
What? We can still hear him. We should probably let me mute him. Let me mute him while he's feeding his kid. I just see the kid go, "I'm hungry, Daddy. I'm hungry." I can't keep talking to AJ about MMA at that point. I have to just say, AJ, go feed this starving child. Just, "I'm hungry, Daddy. Feed me." Go do that, AJ. So I'm by myself right now. I got no Fred. I got no AJ. It's just me and you. It's just me and you. What do you guys want to talk about tonight? It's just us, baby. What do you want to talk about? What are we doing? We're talking about trilogies. I want to talk about the greatest trilogies in the history of MMA, in the history of the UFC primarily, because I think we're going to gear up for a trilogy here, Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman. I think they are going to fight for the third time. Of course, Usman won their first fight a few years ago. Leon Edwards won the last fight this past Saturday night, and I think we're gearing up for a trilogy fight. So I do want to look back at some of the great trilogy fights in the history of the UFC and also look forward to Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman, and maybe looking back at some of these great trilogy fights, we'll be able to get an idea of what to look forward to when Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman collide once again. Dana White saying it'll probably be in the UK, where Leon Edwards is from, and Kamaru Usman saying it'll probably happen early 2023. So we're looking at January, February in the UK for Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards after that fight on Saturday night. Before we get to the trilogies and our favorite trilogies and the greatest trilogy and maybe a trilogy that we haven't seen yet but we need to see, I want to talk a little bit about Leon Edwards and the kick heard around the world over Kamaru Usman. Tremendous kick, tremendous technique, shocking moment at UFC 278. If you didn't catch our watch-along, you can catch our reaction on the watch-along right now. The UFC 278 watch-along here on Ringside Report MMA. We can get to it.
You should play it. That says it all. Just do that clip for like 2 minutes, and that says it all. Like, you know, it was, we were doing the show on Saturday. We were like watching it. It was like we were talking not even 30 seconds before the kick heard around the world, talking how the master plan was in place, and Usman is so much more ahead of Edwards, which was the case. There's no doubt about it. The first round could have went either or. Some people gave it to Usman, some gave it to Edwards. But the second, third, fourth, and fifth was Edwards. It was just a masterpiece. And you know what? You know, and the reaction will say it all, but it was that slip that he really, like in boxing, you'll do a slip and then you can throw that cross. But you don't have to worry about knees or kicks. The problem with Usman is that he did a boxing slip, kept his hand out to block, but he dropped his shoulders too much. He literally walked into the kick. It was a mistake. Edwards set that up perfectly. You know, 9 out of 10 times, it probably will not do anything major.
Well,
and even if it does, it
was set up.
Yep.
He set it up perfectly. It was, you know, throw the left, have Kamaru react, dip, and throw the left just to have him dip right into the kick. Boom. Okay, sure.
Beautiful.
But people are saying, oh, it wasn't lucky, and I don't think it was lucky because he clearly planned that technique. It was a technique that he planned. He didn't just throw a kick up there hoping. But I think that it was fortunate in the sense that it landed for him in the very last minute. And I'm not saying that as a figure of speech. It was in the last minute of a 25-minute mixed martial arts fight that Leon Edwards was losing. Like, let's not make any mistakes about that. Let's be clear. If you look at the scorecards and what has happened and what happened there and how they scored it, round 1 was Leon Edwards. Round 2, 3, 4, Kamaru Usman.
At 5.
So,
at 5.
And Usman was winning 5 as well. He was winning 5 as well. We don't have the actual scores from round 5 because they didn't have to score round 5. But what we know,
he was dominating.
What we know is that 2, 3, 4 were won by Kamaru Usman. So even if Leon Edwards had come back and even if the judges decided, oh, round 5 was Edwards' round, he still loses the fight on points, right? So he was a 100%. Minute away from losing that fight on points. That is not in question.
45 seconds to be exact.
He landed that kick that he had practiced, that he had planned to land, that he had hoped to land. But just because you practice a technique and you see a tendency in your opponent doesn't mean it's going to hit. If Leon Edwards wanted to hit that kick and he could hit that kick whenever he wanted, he would have hit it in the first minute of the first round. He would have ended that fight early. He was fortunate that Kamaru gave him the moment. He was fortunate that he saw it happen at that time in the final minute of the fight because he wound up winning. Now, I'm not saying it was a lucky kick, right? Because clearly it was a technique that was planned and it was something he saw with Usman. But for people to say, oh, well, this was all in the plan and Edwards knew and he was just waiting for his moment. Come on. You know, you don't wait 24 minutes to be like, I'm going to get him in the final minute. Like, that's not really how it works. You know what I mean? It was fortunate he was able to land it when he did. It's not, and you could say fortunate, you could say lucky, right? He was lucky to land it when he did because he was losing the fight. This wasn't a situation of Leon Edwards was winning the striking, he had Kamaru hurt, and he put him away. Leon Edwards was down in the fight. He was down on points. He threw one kick, and it landed perfectly, and it put Usman out, and it won Leon Edwards the championship. But I think, yeah, there is some luck involved. Of course there's skill involved. You know, if there was no skill involved, Leon Edwards would have been finished in the first round. He's obviously a very skilled mixed martial artist who knows what he's doing. But he did get a little lucky in the sense that he was able to land that kick because he was losing the fight. It wasn't a 2-2, 2 rounds apiece, going into the final round. This was a 3-1, on its way to being 4-1, unanimous decision for Kamaru Usman.
Even it could have been even 5.
No, do you not remember the first round? Edwards took him down, mounted him. Like, come on.
Yeah, but didn't do anything. He didn't like. There was nothing really. Nah, it was probably enough. But you know what? Look, there's one thing that I agree with you. It was enough on all 3 judges' scorecards.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the scorecard. Yeah, you want to see the clip? You want to see our reaction?
Can I just say one thing before the reaction?
Yeah.
I agree with you totally. I mean, there was an element. That's it, man. Banned from the show as well. But I'm going to tell you something. Well, it's not like it hasn't happened before. But I'm going to tell you something. I agree with you that it was just the fortunate, perfect timing, executed kick that he's probably done over and over hundreds and hundreds of times. Like I was saying earlier, 9 out of 10 times, that would have probably not connected to Usman. The problem with Usman is that Herb Dean is at fault in some sense. And I brought that up on Saturday night. Herb Dean, if you look at it, Herb Dean at 4-4 in the 5th round called an instant halt to the fight. No reason to halt it. There was absolutely zero reason, in my opinion. They were in the clinch.
Pushing Edwards against the fence.
Pushing.
Yeah.
And that's really the game plan to end the fight without anybody really getting knocked out. Yeah. So if I'm winning, like, listen, it's a George St. Pierre thing. It's a top level fighter. Everything. You've got less than a minute to go. No need to battle. I'm gonna just wear and tear him till the end of the round, and I'm winning it. I'm walking away as a champion. And there was absolutely zero reason for Herb Dean to have done what he did. but enough for the fight to completely have changed, and the belt was changed over. And that's the biggest problem. Right. Herb Dean, has to explain. I haven't seen it yet. His explanation of why.
Why? When the ref does that to you,
go draw. It's okay. He wants a draw.
Okay,
draw on the wall.
When the ref does that to you,
go.
Don't go and don't say, "Oh, okay, I guess I have to fight in the middle again." When the ref separates you. Yeah, get him, Caden. Oh, he's drawing on AJ's walls. Good kid. You probably asked permission too. AJ just wasn't listening. This is what happens. You go back and clinch. Right? When the referee separates you from a clinch against the fence, a lot of guys will go, "Oh, okay," and cede that control to the referee and go and fight in the middle and try to exchange because that's what the referee wants. Forget that. Grab the guy, push him right as soon as the referee grab the guy, push him right back into the fence, and do exactly what you were just doing. Because this is MMA, and if he can't stop you, then that's your fault. If the opponent can't stop you, that is the opponent's fault. If he can't stop you from getting pushed up against the fence and held there, that is his fault, and the referee shouldn't have to jump in. And if the referee does jump in, well, you grab that guy, you push him right back into the fence and say, "What, ref? You going to separate me again?" And then if he does, keep pushing him in. The referee, there's no yellow card for inaction. You know what I mean? Like, Herb Dean has no recourse. He's got nothing he can do to a fighter that he doesn't like. Like, if he doesn't like how you're fighting, he could separate you and have you stand again. But if you grab your opponent again and push him against the fence again and keep doing it, Herb Dean can keep separating you. But at a certain point, there's not much he can do. He can't take points away. He can't do any of that stuff. So Usman kind of ceded that control in the fight. Herb Dean separated them, and Usman said, "Okay, I'll, exchange a little bit with some kickboxing," and it wound up costing him the whole fight, right? If he stays against the fence, if he stays pressed up against the fence and Herb Dean never stops him, Kamaru's probably the champion still, and we're looking at Kamaru versus Khamzat if Khamzat can beat Nate Diaz. But that's not what we're doing now. We're looking at Edwards and Kamaru. Again.
Listen, man, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because anytime a ref or a ref in any sport for that matter, even in soccer sometimes where the ref just doesn't call the call in the box where it could have been a penalty, it should have been a penalty, it was clear, changes the whole game if the team comes around in a few minutes and scores a goal and it ends the game. Here, Herb Dean was the major factor, in my opinion, to change the turn of events, which was that kick around the world. If Herb Dean, listen, we saw the Shvili and Aldo fight, and you know what? There was a lot of Shvili, Shvili. I can't say his first part of his name, but I call him the Shvili. But what happens is that, yes. So the thing is that fight, people could call it boring, they could call it whatever, but there was no real interaction by the ref to separate them and start them from the center of the octagon again. Again, in the fight with Usman and Edwards, throughout the fight, there was a lot of cheating by Edwards, holding the fence, holding on to not be taken down, poking the eye, holding the gloves, holding the fingers. There was so much going on.
A lot of cheating. You're right.
A lot of cheating, and to be honest, Herb Dean could have taken off a few points, especially on holding the octagon, which he didn't. Yeah. That is understandable when you got to step in. But when you're on the fifth round and the guy is coasting to a win and he's going to be the champion again, with a short victory, unanimous decision, there's no way in hell you should be a factor walking into their moment to separate them.
You're right.
And because of that, and Herb Dean I like Herb Dean as a ref. He's amazing.
He's a good ref, but I think he made a mistake there.
He's been involved with a lot of controversy and a lot of controversial calls in MMA. And in a championship fight, you got to hold that urge to be the shining star between two fighters. And you know what? It might have been a mental mistake, whatever, but it was enough for Usman to have lost this fight, which he didn't deserve to lose, in my opinion. And you know what? That kick, was basically at 45 seconds, at 56 seconds left, that's when Herb Dean made his decision. So in a very short amount of seconds, it was over. So, look.
All right, let's take a look at our reaction. Our reaction from Saturday night, if you missed it. Here it is. Way better than Leon Edwards. Like they were before,
Yep.
They are still. Here I was saying Kamaru was way better than Leon Edwards. I'm really impressed.
Oh my God!
It's over. Holy shit! Leon Edwards
oh my God!
Just kicked Kamaru Usman in the head and knocked him out cold. What the fuck?
Holy shit! Do you believe this shit?
What?
Do you believe this shit?
What?
I can't believe this. Just as we're talking about, like,
he was
the better
45
fighter.
seconds away from winning the fight.
Do you believe this?
Kamaru Usman was 45 seconds away from another title defense, and he got kicked in the head
What the
and
hell?
went to sleep. Herb Dean jumped in
Oh my
immediately
God.
because Edwards was out and Usman was out.
Dude, I almost
It
choked.
was over.
What the hell?
I was just talking about how impressive a performance it was for Kamaru Usman, still doing it, continuing to dominate.
What happened
That was a
there?
dominant fight from Kamaru Usman. Leon Edwards just said, oh, yeah, here's a left head kick, and it put Kamaru's lights out, dropped him, put him to sleep.
What a mistake,
Edwards
man.
didn't have to follow up with punches, nothing. One kick, he knew it was over. Herb Dean steps in, new UFC welterweight champion,
Oh my
Leon
God.
Rocky Edwards.
Is that
There you go. And this is why MMA is the greatest sport in the world, because you can have, your Game 7s of the World Series or whatever you want. A Game 7, every MMA fight, every title fight is Game 7 for these guys. It's one and done. It's win or go home. And when Leon Edwards is down 3-1, possibly 4-1, he lands one strike that gives him the whole game, that wins him the whole series, that wins him the championship, everything. One kick shifts the momentum, and you don't get that in any other sport. If the Yankees are down, actually baseball, you do it, but there's a little bit of anticipation. Like if the Yankees are down 4-1 in the bottom of the ninth, right? If they have three men on and Aaron Judge comes to the plate, okay, maybe a grand slam's about to happen, but there's anticipation for that. It's like, okay, we got a man on first, got a man on second, got a man on third, bases loaded, here comes Aaron Judge. There's anticipation. This was not that. This was Kamaru Usman's winning. Oh, man, he's winning every round. It's getting kind of late. Can we just finish this fight? Oh, shit, Kamaru Usman just lost. It was just so shocking, and that's what I love about MMA and these big title fights in the UFC. You never know what's going to happen, and somebody could be down, way down on the scorecards, and then in an instant, wins the whole fight, turns it around, and shocks the whole world. It's crazy how Leon Edwards was able to do it, not with a punch, another punch that wobbled Kamaru, and then the head kick that put him down. There was no lead up. There was nothing. It was head kick, lights out, new champion. Down 3 rounds,
Crazy.
down 4 rounds, head kick, lights out, new champion. It's unbelievable, and that's why MMA is the greatest sport in the world, because nothing like that happens in any other sport. You can't be down 4-1 in hockey and then score 1 goal and all of a sudden win the game 5-4. That's not how hockey works.
Yeah. And you know what, Dave? I'm telling you, we said it on Saturday night, and we've been talking about it. If you were there to see that fight live from the first round all the way to the last seconds of that fight, you miss, like, one of the greatest moments in sports history. And it's like saying the same thing when you miss, like, Tyson, like, losing to Buster Douglas. And, like, there's so many events in sports where
Combat
it's not the same. Combat
sports, man, it's the best.
It's not the same. It's not the same if you weren't there to see that live, because the UFC 278 card was fantastic. The prelims were great. The main card was fantastic, and it was the most unexpected surprise you could have imagined. And then, boom, the bookmakers were losing their hair that night. I know Drake, man, he probably was listening to us for once and saying, you know, those guys from Ringside Report are going like Usman. I'm going to put all my shit in Usman. Sorry, Drake. This time, Drake. Man, sorry, Drake, dude. You know what? You could have made a lot of money putting it on Edwards. And you know what? You're going to have that chance again. Like Dave said, sometime in January, February, or March. When?
I would have told Drake to put his money on the Team Dave parlay, which was Costa and Arichi which won, by the way. Okay,
which
the
one?
Team Dave parlay, I didn't bet on Usman. I didn't bet on Edwards. I gave you I gave you 3 fights, but one of the fights got canceled, the Maverick fight. But I gave you Arichi and I gave you Paulo Costa. They were locks. They won. Team Dave parlay. Cha-ching! Once again, bet with us at bet99.com. Use that promo code Ringside. That's what I would have given Drake. I would have given him the Team Dave parlay because he's got the money. He's got the deep pockets. He can bet $1 million and win 100,000. And to him, that's, you know, like I could give him these bets where it's like you will guarantee win. You may not win tons of money, Drake, but you will guarantee to win. And if you bet a lot, you'll win a lot. And if he won, if I gave Drake advice, you know, like betting advice, that's my dream. Find one of these super rich guys and be like, all right, you pick these guys, okay? You pick these winners. You bet $1 million to win 100,000, whatever, and then you give me 10 grand. Just give me 10 grand off the top. Give me like a small percentage.
What are you talking about? Yeah,
because if I make 2 or 3 or 4 bets for this guy, 10 grand a weekend for me is pretty good, AJ. I mean, I don't care. I'm not trying to be Drake. I just want to be a richer me. You know, I'm not trying to, you know what I mean? Like, if I made 10 grand a weekend on MMA betting from my friend Drake, I'd be happy with that.
Well, listen, if he would have listened to you and all of us at certain points within this year, he would have made like shitloads of money.
That's what I'm saying.
He lost actually shitloads of money. Like, it's crazy how much he lost.
He should listen to me because I've got good picks for him. Hey, Drake, you know who's going to win at the UFC 279? Khamzat Chimaev. All right, bet on him over Nate Diaz. I don't know how much you have to make. You have to bet to win any kind of money, but I'm sure it's a lot because Khamzat, I believe, is a gigantic favorite. But who cares? Like, Khamzat right now, I don't even know. I don't even have the odds in front of me.
Man,
I'll track it down.
He's been talking. Listen, he's been talking a lot of shit lately, Khamzat. I mean, he was talking shit against Conor, and you even sent me something where he's like, "Oh, I just realized after watching The King of Thrones that Conor hasn't won a fight in 7 years." And then I said,
Bilal Muhammad said that.
Oh, it was Bilal. Sorry, it was Bilal Muhammad. Even worse. So even Bilal, like, you know, listen, man, you know, I might as well just finish off what I said. You can say all the shit you want about Conor, but in the last 7 years, even if Conor's lost, he's broken more pay-per-view records than anyone out there.
About Conor now? What happened?
Well, just because I made a mistake. I thought it was Khamzat that was talking shit against Conor, but it was Bilal. So I apologize. I just want to finish off that story. But I'm still, man, I got to finish it off. Don't talk shit about Conor.
But I don't know.
Listen, you know what? 278 was amazing. And not only was the Usman fight, but the fight where my buddy was fighting and my other buddy, my 2 poster boys were fighting. What's up?
Okay. Khamzat Chimaev right now is a minus 1430 favorite. So if you're Drake and you want to bet how many zeros?
$100,000?
$1 million.
$1 million.
If you bet $1 million, you get your $1 million back plus 71 grand, $500. Like $71,000 on a sure thing is pretty good. That's where I would bet, Drake. I would bet $1 million to win 71,000. 71,000 is a lot of money. All right, most people don't make $71,000 in a year. You could make it in one night, and then you give me, you know, say 10% of that. That's only $7 grand. I mean, I'd take it. I would take it. I'd take it if I just have to give him the pick. I don't have to put in any money. Whoops. Where's AJ?
Listen. Listen, but I'm gonna tell you something. You might put $1 million down and have like a Drake party. His bar bill at the end of the night probably be about 100,000. So it's not
That's
like
true.
the greatest. It's not like the greatest amount of money. It's not great, but it's still $71,000.
I mean, that's what I'm
You
saying.
can send it to Ringside Report.
He can send it all to me just for being awesome. Like, be cool.
So you can buy all the Yeezys that you want, man.
I already do that.
Yeah, you don't need Drake for that.
I'd buy the Drake Jordans if I had the Drake money, all right? Take it easy. I'd buy the OVO
Jordans?
shoes. Of course he does. And they're highly
Listen, man,
exclusive. Everybody wants them. They're super cool. They're very nice. Patrick C. Hamilton dropping a super chat. Thank you, Patrick. The 777. Lucky 777s from Patrick. He says, don't have Drake deep pockets, but the Saskatchewan government is going to write us all checks. Well, that's nice. Good for you.
What?
I think the Quebec government wrote us all checks. They gave us all $500.
They did for what? No way.
It's bribery, I think. Yeah, they gave us all.
I can live with that.
Do you not? Everybody, I think pretty much everybody got an extra $500 in their taxes or something from the government. AJ doesn't do his taxes, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't want to get into that.
I'm kind of like U.S. politicians,
But yeah,
I
the
do my
Quebec
taxes,
government, the Quebec government, and I guess the Saskatchewan government trying to bribe their citizens into voting them in again. No. Don't applaud for that. Don't applaud for that.
What do you want to vote for? Give me another $500. You got my vote.
Really?
Well, depends.
I'm not voting for those guys no matter how much they give me. I don't care how much
Listen, man, I'm going to tell you
I don't care
something.
how much Francois Legault and his dirty-ass party gives me. I'm not giving him a single vote or anything. That guy sucks. Garbage premier. Probably the worst premier I've ever seen in my life.
Even Freddie would
awful. He is awful. Oh,
Listen,
my
man,
God.
I'm gonna tell you
Our premier is garbage. And he kisses his sister, like, all the time. On the lips.
Which I was shocked.
On
but
the
it's
lips,
true,
bro.
dude. Listen,
It's true.
To everybody outside of Quebec, Dave is absolutely right. If you don't
It's
believe
fucked
him,
up.
Google it. Dave showed me it, and I'm like,
Francois
c'est pas
Legault
possible.
kisses his sister. Okay? Google that. There's a picture of it.
Deliverance.
Yeah.
Deliverance in Quebec.
Yeah. It was right after he
Well, I'm
won
gonna
the
tell you-
election. His wife is here. His sister's here. He goes to kiss somebody, grabs his sister, right on the lips.
Right
It's
on,
a little
and it was
weird.
a long one, too.
And that's not the worst of it. That's not the least of it with this guy, okay? This guy's got way more problems than that. Racism issues, weed problems with the SQDC. He's not doing it right. He's a big problem, this guy. We got to get rid of him. Unfortunately, everybody else is garbage, too. But that's politics,
Well,
they're all garbage. Every politician is a garbage person, it seems like. Right? Across the board, in every province, every country, every city, your politician is garbage.
Well, I'm going to tell you something.
I don't care who you voted for or who your elected official is. Whoever's in charge is garbage.
Got a point. The kid's got a point.
No
But I'm going to
matter
tell you
where
something.
you are,
Anytime
your elected official is a piece of crap person.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. Anytime a politician gives you free money, there's a catch. And let me tell you, in the end, it's not free, man. I'm telling you, Dave, you're going to get smacked. You take that $500,
Well, whose
you're going
money
to want
do you think it
$1,000
is? You think it's the
No, it's our
politicians
money.
giving you money? No, it's your money that they're
No.
giving to you for some reason. Why are they giving you this money? How much money are they hoarding in other ways? You know what I mean? It's like suspicious.
Hoarding is the word. Though.
Hoarding.
But I'm
Whoremongering.
Yeah, it's like
Real
old
mongers.
school, like pass the envelope and you got the contract kind of thing.
Well, that's
it hasn't
that's
changed.
just Quebec,
It's the
baby.
same thing, man.
That's how we operate.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
it's Quebec. So
Somebody pass me a goddamn envelope already. Pass me the envelope.
well, we could.
All right, somebody pass me the envelope. I'm up for grabs. I'm corruptible. I just need the right cash amount.
You could, man. Hey, just like this, man. I don't want to get into it. But there's
I
some
don't wanna get
controversy
into it
with
either.
like certain people.
Is there
like Dave
controversy?
Portnoy sold. Well, there's Dave Portnoy that sold. Dave Portnoy or whatever his name is from Barstool Sports, man, sold his business. I don't know how much money he's made. I'm sure there was some envelopes passed. You got that guy Andrew Tate. That's a big name right now. Like with
Who?
like all kinds of controversy. I didn't know
that
who this
guy, the
was.
misogynist kickboxer.
Is he a kickboxer?
I think he's a
that for real?
misogynist and then kickboxes in his spare time. I think he's a full-time
listen.
misogynist and then he kickboxes sometimes. He's like a YouTube misogynist. There's a few of those guys.
Listen, this guy made like
Tate,
over $300
Jordan
million
Peterson, all these guys, these like dumbasses.
Where did
Stupid
these guys
people.
come from, man?
I'm gonna become a guru for men that tells you to be a decent human being, treat women with respect, and stop being such a pussy.
Broke.
Stop being a pussy. Treat women with respect. And don't be an idiot. And maybe shut the fuck up every once in a while. How about that? Too many people talking too much. That's my problem with the goddamn humanity these days. Everybody's got a goddamn opinion. You got Instagram, you got Facebook, you got Twitter, and everybody's got an opinion about goddamn everything. How about this? Here's my advice to dudes. Shut the fuck up. How about you save whatever dumb shit you have in your head, keep it in your head, keep it bottled up, and then once in a while, if you think you've got something really good, then say some shit. The rest of the time, shut the fuck up. Too many people with too many goddamn opinions.
You hear that?
Hear that? Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson and whoever the fuck else needs to hear it. Shut the fuck up. Like, I don't care about Elon Musk's opinion about, like, abortion. Like, you do rockets, bro. Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? I don't care. I'm not trying to hear. Everybody's trying to get an opinion about everything. I'm not going to tell you my opinion about hockey because I don't know shit about it. So I'm not going to give you an opinion. Okay? But everybody out there thinks that they're fucking experts about everything and they're trying to give you an opinion about everything. Shut the fuck up. Fuck.
Dave's right, man. Listen to it.
If you say, hey, Dave, how do you balance the budget? I'll be like, and I won't have an opinion. Hey, Dave, how do you close up an armbar? Well, here you go. You got to get your foot in front of the face, and you got to, get past the elbow, and I'll give you some goddamn tips because I know what I'm talking about. I don't know about this other shit, and I'm not trying to give you an opinion because I'm not an asshole trying to fucking blow smoke and talk shit and act like I'm bigger and more important than I really am. Shut the fuck up.
But the guy made $300 million from talking that shit. Think about it.
Who?
Andrew Tate.
Well, you should shut the fuck up. He's garbage. He's being deplatformed from all his things. I've heard about him. He's like a misogynist guy, right? He says women are this and they should be listening to us. And shut the fuck up, you idiot. You goddamn moron. I hope a woman bites your dick off. Stupid fuck.
Say that shit. I'll tell you what. You're a kickboxer. I'll give you a match against Cyborg. And let's see, and then that'd be a nice time for Drake to put his money down.
I don't know. All these people just seem like morons. These people, they're out there, they're morons. And what's crazier is that there's morons out there listening to them. All these idiots out there with all these opinions and think they figured life out. You're fucking stupid. And if you're believing in these people, you're even dumber than they are. Fuck.
Don't hold back, Dave. Say it. Let it all out. It's a Dr. Phil.
I don't know. I just see these like gurus for men, and it's like, let me tell you how to be a man and be jacked and have women. It's like, dude, you're a goddamn idiot, man. That's not working for you. How's that working? Fuck. It's sad, man. It's sad.
Hey, listen,
because they're tricking all these rubes into thinking, yeah, this is how I should think. Idiots. Yeah, you shouldn't have brought that guy up. I don't like that guy. I have no time for that guy. Andrew Tate, whoever the fuck that is. Like, I just started hearing about him because of misogyny, and then I started seeing clips, and I was like, oh, this guy's horrible. He's like British or something? I don't know.
I think he was.
I don't know what he is.
I'm not sure if he was born in England, and he's not
from Canada. That's for sure. He's not Canadian.
He grew up in Chicago or something like that. I don't know.
But even that Jordan Peterson guy, you seen that guy? He like talks like a professor, looks like a nerd. He's Canadian. He says a bunch of shit. He's fucking stupid. He says a bunch of dumb shit. Oh my god, he is the biggest. No, don't Google him because you're gonna get influenced by it, AJ. All right, I don't want you to be influenced by these morons. But he's just another guy who's got all these theories and is trying to tell you how to live life and this is how you should be and this is how you shouldn't be. And it's like, how about be however the fuck you want to be and like do whatever you want and stop meddling in other people's affairs. You know what I mean? Why do you have to have an opinion about this person or that person or how this person chooses to live their life? Like, why don't you stick to your own shit and shut the fuck up? Thank you. This has been my talk on shutting
You feel
the fuck
better
up
now?
and staying in your goddamn lane. Stay in your lane,
Bravo.
bitch. Stay in your lane, bitch.
MMA 1.
Yeah. All right. What are we saying here? Trilogies in the UFC?
Trilogy, man. Yeah, wait. Why are we getting to that, man? Like, let's talk a little bit about the Costa Rockhold fight. One of the craziest
We
fights.
talked about
the
it. We
Craziest
saw it.
endings.
Why do we have to talk
No,
about
but-
it again? Why?
I just thought it was-
happened. No, I'm good. We talked about it Saturday. It was a great fight. Rockhold retired. Good for Rockhold. What more can you say? You just want to go on and on about how much you love Luke Rockhold and Paulo Costa? Just because you're a super fan of both guys doesn't mean you have to go on and on about how cool they are.
Man, like, they're good, man. That was a great fight. I just want to say it was a fantastic fight, and great career to Rockhold, man. Great career, man. Too bad it ended the way it did. That's it, bud.
Silent by Deadly says, I'm sick of giving my comments and thoughts on YouTube all the time. I don't know everything, and I don't always have an opinion. Well, that's fine. I mean, you don't have to give your comments. This is the thing. I think we're living in this world where people feel like I have to comment on everything. If some famous person dies, I must say how sad I am and express regret, even if I have a very loose connection to whoever the fuck this person is. You know, like,
Not I, bud. Not I. Me and Harvey Keitel are like this.
yeah, but I'm saying
You know?
if Oprah died, right?
Jeez, Oprah. Hopefully she's not listening. But
I
go
mean,
ahead.
let's just say Oprah died tomorrow. Are you going to go on Twitter and be like, Oprah, we
Oh.
love you? Are you going to start posting tributes to Oprah? You are.
Yeah.
I am not. Because I'm familiar with Oprah. I might say, goddamn, kind of young to die, Oprah. What happened? But I'm not going to go on and on about, oh, Oprah, you were the best. And this is because I don't have like a deep connection. You know what I mean? Like, people feel like anything happens anywhere, they got to give their opinion. And I just don't think that's necessary. I'm going to give you my opinion on professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. That's my field of expertise. That's where I shine. All right? I might give you my
You're right,
opinion
bud.
on other things, but take it with a grain of salt. I'm going to become one of these man gurus, though. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll be like, all right, dudes, this is what you got to do.
First, shave your balls with
Jiu-jitsu.
Manscaped.
Start doing jiu-jitsu. All right? That's first. Second, do you like cheeseburgers? Get a few of those. They're delicious. Third, be really nice to your mom. You should call her every day and see how she's doing.
You're right. Especially if you're Italian.
Yeah, or even not. If you're an Italian guy and you're still living at home, once you hit 30, maybe you should think about moving out. You know, like just little advice. Little advice to the boys, right? Because some of these guys are getting bad information. I feel like I'm at a stage in my life where, I'm a father, I've got 2 kids, I've got a good relationship with the mother, and everything's good, and we're all happy, we got a nice family. And then I'm seeing all these dudes that are lost in the world, all confused about how to live, and I'm like, God damn. And then I see these idiots like Andrew Tate giving them advice, and I'm like, well, maybe they need like a better role model. Maybe they need somebody who can give them better advice. Silent by Deadly does not want to call his mom every day. All right, well, that's fine. You don't want to call your mom every day. I don't know what your relationship is with your mom, but just check up on her every once in a while. Make sure she's all right. You don't have to call every day if you don't want to. If you don't want to.
You can do whatever you want,
sometimes,
man.
Sometimes I don't call my mom because every day because I want to give her a break because she doesn't need to hear from me every day. I'm ridiculous. I got all these things, to say. These stupid tangents to go on. She doesn't need to hear that every day. She doesn't need that.
No. She doesn't need that.
AJ doesn't
Well,
need
let me
that
tell you,
either.
Silent by Deadly, man, like it's a different story. When you're Italian and you're,
You better call.
You better call, dude, man. I'm telling you.
Multiple times a day.
It gets messy, man. She doesn't need jiu-jitsu to take me down. But I'm going to tell you something. Just back with the comments. The funny thing is that, like, here we are on, like, YouTube or all these other networks and channels or whatever. But YouTube, for example, the more comments that are put on a live stream, the better the algorithms are. So you really need to comment. So Silent by Deadly, man, if you don't want to comment, just put something. Put, like,
Just say,
you're okay.
great show.
You
Thanks
suck.
for this.
It can be
Whatever you
whatever,
want.
man.
A
Doesn't
little
matter.
comment
Whatever.
under the video helps the algorithm, gets us seen by more
does.
people, and more people should see us. I think it would be good.
I think so too.
I think we're a
Especially
positive
tonight.
influence on the world
Sometimes, yeah.
for the most part.
We're pretty good.
For the
We're
most
about
part,
80% good.
we're good guys.
Listen, man, and you know what? That's the crazy thing. Like, sometimes I don't want to put comments, but I know that by putting a comment, it'll help that page, And it's the same thing for us, man. But you know what? You can put out anything you want. Actually, I remember in the beginning, see Dave Simon over here? He's like the big cheese of the show and everything. And I remember at one point I was putting comments like crazy because I knew that it was going to help the algorithm, and Dave banned me.
Yeah, you put not in the chat. The comments in the chat don't really do much. It's the comments under the video that help the algorithm on YouTube.
It's the chat. It's the chats. It's the chats as well, Dave. The chats really help.
No.
Oh yeah, but it does. But anyways,
you don't know how the YouTube algorithm works. I don't think you know how it works. Anyways, can we talk about the trilogies here? This is the whole point.
Let's talk trilogy, man. That was the whole thing, man. Let's do it.
Okay,
Our
so
whole poster was
trilogies
based on
in the
that.
history of the UFC. I want to look back on a few. We've had a bunch.
Tell me, wait. Tell me what it was your number one. I just want to see if we're on the same page.
Okay, my number one trilogy.
And it doesn't have to be UFC. It could be MMA related. Like, that's where I went. I said, like, not UFC because prior to UFC, there was other
I stuck with
organizations.
UFC. You're talking about Pride
Okay.
trilogies?
Yeah, man.
Well, I didn't go that far back. I stuck with UFC.
I have my UFC picks, but I've got my...
Well, what's your favorite
World
then if you're
MMA.
already with one?
If I had to look at the number one of all time, and I've watched it... I've watched the 3 fights numerous times. It had to be like Vanderlei Silva against Rampage Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
That trilogy, that
Two in
trilogy
Pride,
was
one
like,
in the UFC, right?
yeah. And the thing is that it was just fireworks. All 3 of them were just like crazy. It was really a point where Vanderlei Silva was like, holy smokes, man. This guy was the most feared guy out there. And then you got Quentin Jackson that was ripped to shreds, and just this crazy guy coming out howling, and it was just a time in Pride where you had like 100,000 people watching this fight, live in the stadium. It was just a crazy time. So for me, I would say that would be the number one of all time.
That was pretty good.
Listen to this.
I like Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture. That was kind of one of the early ones that really drew me into MMA and got me excited. Chuck losing the first one to Randy and then coming back, learning his lesson, becoming a better fighter. That was one of the first times I really saw a mixed martial arts fighter learn from past mistakes and evolve as a fighter in a rematch. That was not something that we saw a lot back then because this was still the early days of the UFC, right? So Chuck was just such a force at the time. When he lost to Randy the first time, it was like, okay, well, it was Randy Couture. Randy was the man, but Chuck learned a lot. He came back, he beat Randy, and then he beat Randy again. And that, to me, was, one of the greatest trilogies, if not my, it's just my favorite. It holds a sentimental place because it was Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture. These 2 guys are the pioneers of MMA. Like,
Legends, man.
you talk about like important guys in the history of the sport. You got your Hoist Gracies, Forrest Griffin, and Stephen Bonner in that fight and what it did, and Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey for the more recent fans. But to me, the guy that really blew up the sport and made it cool and mainstream was Chuck Liddell. Like, when Chuck Liddell was in his prime, when he was the Iceman, when he was smoking people, like he was on Entourage, he was like, he was the first MMA fighter that went mainstream. He became a star, and he was the only star that the UFC had. And there was just something about the Iceman at that time. There was something about Chuck Liddell when he had those fights with Randy where he was just... He was raw. He was mean. He was deadly. You were scared of him. With the mohawk and the tattoos on his head. Back then, guys didn't have a lot of tattoos on the head. You know what I'm saying? If you had a head tattoo, you were seriously a badass. And Chuck had a mohawk with the tattoo on his head. And it was like, whoa, this guy's scary. And he's got the blue shorts. It says Iceman. He's knocking people unconscious with these big looping strikes that come from, left field, and they just destroy you. Like, Chuck was special, People, I feel, don't talk enough about Chuck when they talk about the pioneers of MMA, because to me, he made the UFC at that time. He was the star in the UFC in the early to mid 2000s. He was the guy that really propelled the sport to the late 2000s and into the 10s and where we are now. Like, he kind of bridged that gap of like, this sport doesn't exist, it's nowhere, it's no holds barred, it's banned from pay-per-view, to all of a sudden it's on Spike and it's mainstream, and he's the champion. He's the guy. So those Chuck and Randy fights, I think, were really important for MMA, for the growth of MMA, because Randy as champion was cool, but when Chuck became champion and beat Randy, it was something else. It was like, oh, shit. Now we got a superstar. So that's my favorite. I'm a big Chuck fan. I don't know if you could tell, but I'm a big fan of the Iceman Chuck Liddell. I thought he was the best. He wants a strawberry.
I'm gonna tell you something.
Go get him a strawberry.
Go
get him a strawberry. I'll talk about other MMA.
No, wait, before you go, I'm going to tell you.
No, go get a strawberry. Get out of here. No, I'm in charge now. I'm in charge of the strawberries. If he comes over and he wants a strawberry, I'm going to send AJ to go get him a strawberry. That's how it works. I'm a big fan of Chuck Liddell. I'm a big fan of Randy Couture. I'm a big fan of those early days. Of course, Couture and Liddell, they had a trilogy. Couture won the first one, then Liddell won the next two. Matt Hughes, George St. Pierre, a legendary trilogy there in the UFC. Again, Matt Hughes won the first one, then George St. Pierre won the next two, which is a theme. It's a theme in a lot of these trilogies where whoever wins the first one usually loses the next two. Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier. Conor won the first one. Dustin won the next two. Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier. DC won the first one. Stipe won the next two. Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos. JDS won the first one. Cain Velasquez won the next two. It's a theme. It happens a lot. Ortiz and Ken Shamrock, 3-0 in favor of Tito Ortiz. Ken Shamrock and Tito Ortiz fought 3 times in the early days, and Tito won them all. The only other trilogy in UFC history that went 3-0, I'll see if somebody on the chat can get it. That'll be a trivia question. While I check Angelo's tweet. Angelo sent me a tweet. What do I make of this? Oh, I see. Yeah, we could talk about that, Angelo. The John Jones, Khabib, who's the greatest of all time discussion, for sure. Anybody know? Tito Ortiz, Ken Shamrock trilogy went 3-0 in Tito's favor. There is only one other trilogy in UFC history that went 3-0 in one man's favor. Which one was it? I wish AJ was here right now. Shouldn't have sent him out for strawberries. I could quiz AJ. Does anybody know? It's pretty easy. It's a pretty easy trivia question. 2 trilogies in the history of the UFC went 3-0. One was Ken Shamrock and Tito Ortiz. What was the other one? Send me a message if you know. I'll ask AJ the question. I don't know if anybody knows. Here's AJ. AJ, trivia question for you. 3 trilogies in the history of 2 trilogies in the history of the UFC have gone 3-0 in one man's favor. One was Ken Shamrock. Don't look at your notes. Look at me.
I'm looking at my notes.
One was Ken Shamrock. What was the other one? Ken Shamrock, Tito Ortiz. Tito won all 3. What was the other trilogy that went 3-0? This is an easy one.
I was I was gonna say Tito Ortiz, Ken Shamrock, but that you got me.
That's
the other one.
The other one was.
Oh, man,
yes,
hold on a
Angelo.
sec.
It was recent. It was recent, Angelo. Can you get it before AJ? Can Angelo get it before AJ? It was a recent one. Let's see if the chat can get it before you. 2 trilogies.
But I'm still trying to.
In
Listen,
UFC
I
history,
just
have
wanna-
gone 3-0. One was Ken Shamrock and Tito Ortiz. What was the other one? It was recent. The third fight happened maybe a month ago.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. Just before
No,
I had to
give me
go
an
get
answer.
strawberries for my little guy, I can't think of it now. I was like so focused on what I wanted to say.
Is nobody
earlier.
going to get it? Nobody knows. It's
Listen,
not that hard.
I'm gonna,
When I say it, you're all going to be like, oh, yeah, I knew it, right?
say it,
AJ,
man.
you ready? You want me to
Kill
tell you? I'm going to reveal it
Yeah,
because
tell
nobody
me.
knows.
Yeah,
It
Go ahead.
was Holloway and Volkanovski.
it's true, man. How can we forget, man?
Volkanovski
absolutely
won all
right.
3. He won the first 2, and then the third one by a lot.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2
Yeah.
that have gone 3-0 in the history of the UFC. But while you were gone, AJ, I said that there was a trend. Usually the guy who wins the first loses the next 2.
Except for
Liddell-
one, which
Except a couple.
Did I
There's
say
no, there's a
which
few.
I was gonna say.
Liddell
I
and
was gonna say
Couture.
one of them.
Liddell and Couture.
Wait, don't say it.
What?
Let me say it. I was gonna say when we were talking about the best in the UFC, I think the best in the UFC trilogy, in my opinion, maybe because I was a bit impartial and whatnot, but it was George St. Pierre against Matt Hughes.
Yeah.
That man was like amazing, and that's a good example of like Hughes
One
winning
and
the
then
first.
2. Hughes
then
won the
1-2
first, then
with
George
George.
won the next 2. Yes.
But what was interesting on that is that when Matt Hughes won first, he won by armbar. Second fight, St. Pierre, he won by TKO. And then the third fight, just to wrap it all up, George won by armbar. So the first and the third fight of that trilogy was by armbars. And that's the beautiful thing about, I think that, in my opinion, was the best UFC trilogy. There's a few other ones, man, that were amazing. I mean, if you want to look at
I'm getting invaded
if you
now,
wanna-
too.
what's happening with the kids tonight, man? I'm like Daddy Daycare
All the
here.
kids are
Angelo,
here.
I don't know if you know. I'm trying to do the show. I'm trying to babysit my little guy. I love him to death, but the thing is that like I'm trying to shuffle both at the same time. What's up, bud? Today's show, it's the trilogy.
Yes, kids. Kids show.
man.
Uh,
1, 2, and then the kids.
Okay, so Matt Hughes won the first one. George St. Pierre won the next 2. Randy Couture won the first one. Chuck Liddell won the next 2. Junior Dos Santos won the first one. Cain Velasquez won the next 2. Daniel Cormier won the first one. Stipe Miocic won the next 2. Conor McGregor won the first one. Dustin Poirier won the next 2. But some of them have been split. Brandon Moreno, Davison Figueiredo have gone 1-1 and 1. 1 draw and 1 win on each side between Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo. They're going to do a, what do you call it when it's 4? A quadrilogy? What do you?
A quad.
Quadro! They're doing a
Trilogy?
quadro! Quadro, baby!
Quadro!
Moreno and
That's it,
Figueiredo, they're going to need a quadro to settle the score between them. But, it's a trend. Like, most of the time, when somebody wins the first fight, they lose the next 2. BJ Penn and Matt Hughes, not the case. BJ Penn won the first one. Matt Hughes won the second one. BJ won the third one. So they went 1. They swap wins back and forth. But that's rare. Like, that does not happen very often. Randy Couture, Vitor Belfort fought 3 times. Randy won the first time, then Vitor won, then Randy won it back. So that's happened. It has happened before. Will it happen with Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards? They are fighting again at some point, probably early 2023. Kamaru won the first one. Leon won the second one. Who will win the third? Will it be Kamaru Usman winning the third, bucking the trends of the trilogy fights, or will it be Leon Edwards. I mean, it's a tough one, but right now I think you would have to put your money on Kamaru Usman because I believe he is the favorite to win. Ooh, nice.
Listen, man, it's going to be a tough one, Dave, because you're going to be fighting in his hometown. You're going to the UK. Possibly this fight's going to happen in Wembley. It's going to be nuts. The crowd is going to be like, it's just going to be a crazy time. And you know what? Usman has to go into Edwards' home. It's not going to be, it's going to be tough, man. You know, look, everything points to Usman winning. Usman should have won the last fight. You know, Herb Dean won that fight. That's what it came down to. But, you know, look, it's a really terrible trilogy because all the fights that we were talking about, the history of trilogy fights, I was going to go back to like one where I was thinking where somebody won 3 in a row was Nogueira against Heath Herring. Remember Heath Herring? Heath Herring was one of my favorites, man. Yeah. And he got beaten by Nogueira 3 straight up. But what I'm trying to say is all these fights we're talking about, I'd even bring up Fedor against Nogueira, that trilogy, which was insane.
3-0 Fedor, obviously.
Yeah, it was a no contest in the second one.
Oh, okay.
But the thing, but all to say is this, is that every one of these fights that we're talking about, like, there's one thing that they have in common, is that they were actually good fights, you know, to the point where no ref changed the course of that fight. And this trilogy that's coming up with Usman and Edwards is a false trilogy to me because in my heart and really the truth is that Usman was winning it and should have won it, and Herb Dean changed that direction, and you know what, it was just an unfortunate thing. So it's not really, I don't feel it like a real trilogy. It's gonna happen, but it's unfair for Usman to have lost that way because in my opinion, Herb Dean was the factor, and I'm not going to change that from 56 seconds to restarting them to 45 seconds to the knockout. That says it all, and it's unfortunate. It's going to be a trilogy, but it shouldn't have been a trilogy. It should have been Usman tying Anderson Silva's record, you know, being like the greatest fighter that we see today, other than George St. Pierre or Khabib, and it's a tough loss to swallow, man. You know, no matter how much, and he's a cool guy, Usman. But let me tell you, if I was in his shoes, it's a tough one to swallow, and I probably would put in my contract negotiations, please have anyone else but Herb Dean in that fight for the third fight, and it's too bad because I like Herb Dean. He, like I was saying earlier, great referee, but he's been in too many controversial fights and decisions that went the other way. So listen, man, it's a shitty one, but it's a trilogy that I think Usman should take away easily.
Yeah, or Leon Edwards knocks him out even quicker. You know, I mean, that could happen too. It could happen. I don't know,
but he couldn't do it in 5. Listen, man, it's just bad timing, good timing. You know, bad timing for Usman, great timing for Edwards. But I'm telling you again, like I said earlier, 9 out of 10 times with that same setup, Usman would not be in the position he was in.
Opening odds have Kamaru Usman minus 375 the favorite, Leon Edwards plus 290 the underdog. And that pretty much tells you what you need to know about what people think happened in that second fight. Kamaru Usman opening up as heavy a favorite as he was before the second fight for the third one. So I think, you know, that says it all, AJ. I think, you know, we know that Kamara was on his way to a win, didn't get the win, but people expect him to win here in the trilogy fight, which we will see. What's a trilogy fight that you need to see, that we haven't seen yet, that you need? I know a lot of people want Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor. I don't think we'll ever see that, and if we do see it, it won't be in the UFC.
I don't see that happening anywhere else, Dave. I mean,
well, Nate seems like his next fight against Khamzat is his last fight on his UFC deal. So unless Nate wins and gets a contract extension and stays in the UFC for several more fights, I think he's out the door of the UFC right after the next one. I really do. He's been wanting his release from the UFC, unless they come with some ridiculous. If they come with some ridiculous offer, but I don't think they will. I think they're going to let Nate Diaz go. I think the UFC is done.
Listen, I think Conor, at this point, as we're speaking, is looking too big to fight Nate. He's looking jacked. You know, I don't know, Dave. You know, I'd love to see it. That's a huge reason why Nate would stay, because the payoff would be ridiculous. That would be a great way to end your career. You know, it might happen, but right now, like I'm saying, Conor McGregor looks jacked. He looks like the Incredible Hulk, you know, in Irish form, man. He looks too big. I don't even know what he's weighing at, but it doesn't look anywhere. You know, he looks almost like, I don't want to even say like light heavyweight, man. And he looks huge.
What trilogy fight would you rather see? Amanda Nunes against Juliana Pena or Amanda Nunes against Valentina Shevchenko? If you had to choose one. Amanda's 2-0 against Valentina. At least she's 1-1 with Juliana.
Yeah, you got a point there. I mean, we were talking about that. Look, if I have to say what I'd like to see, let's do it with Pena. Because this way here, if you beat her a second time, it'll prove that the first fight was just exactly what it was. She wasn't physically prepared. And to be honest, she was battling COVID, injuries, still did a great first round, which I thought was 10-8, and came down to the second to lose. Winning that third fight would prove that Pena got lucky. And you know what? I'd rather see that over Valentina. We know where it's going to end with Valentina.
I agree.
How about
I agree.
How
about this? If Carla Esparza beats Zhang Wei Li and retains the UFC strawweight title, do we ever see a rematch between Carla Esparza and Rose Namajunas? A trilogy fight there. They're 1-1.
That could be good.
Sorry. 2-0 Carla. That's 2-0 Carla, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy when you're talking with the name of Rose. But
that second fight was so
man.
bad. I don't know if you want to see it again. It'll be tough.
Yeah,
tough
it was
sell.
listen. It was a terrible fight where there was actually no exchange. It probably almost broke that card. It wasn't a typical fight for Rose. I don't know what was going on. There was something obviously like in her head, and that fight, man, was probably considered one of the top 10 worst fights in UFC history, in my opinion. But look, man, let's do it again. Maybe there was something wrong with that night.
We'll see. Conor McGregor, you talked about him. Charles Oliveira will be fighting Islam Makhachev on October 22nd in Abu Dhabi, UFC 280. Conor McGregor is the guy that Oliveira really wants to fight. He knows where the money is. He knows what the big fight is. Charles Oliveira did an interview this week where he said the only reason he accepted to fight Islam Makhachev in Abu Dhabi was because Conor McGregor is the fight he wants, and he thinks that if he can beat Islam, then they'll have no choice but to give him Conor McGregor in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And there's a good shot that does happen with a quick turnaround. If it does take place, it would be probably early 2023, January, February, March at the latest.
The time is ticking,
but
man.
It would be early in 2023 in Brazil for a UFC pay-per-view. If Charles Oliveira can get past Islam Makhachev, I think Conor McGregor will come back to a title shot against Charles Oliveira. People will say, why? Why is Conor getting a title shot? He hasn't won in years. But all you have to do is ask the champion why. And if the champion can get past all the guys that he's been past, right? If he got past everybody that he got past, and he can get past Islam Makhachev, well, there's nobody else really for him to fight, and he should get Conor McGregor or whoever he wants to fight. It doesn't really matter. If the guy is willing to fight Charles Oliveira should get to fight his pick of whoever. If Khabib doesn't want it, fine, Khabib, stay retired. If Conor wants it, I know it doesn't make sense. Conor hasn't won since 2020 when he beat Donald Cerrone. He's lost 2 fights in a row, but he's the biggest money fight in the UFC, and if the champion can beat Islam in Abu Dhabi, where Islam is very strong, I don't know, it's like the main religion there, but Islam Makhachev is what I'm talking about. If he can beat him at UFC 280, Charles and Conor in Rio de Janeiro would be pretty sweet. So I don't know.
Dave,
I feel like Islam is going to win in October. I'm going with Islam. But I wouldn't rule out a Charles victory because this man is on a ridiculous roll, and I could see him winning too. That's a really big fight that I'm kind of on the fence for right now, but Charles do Bronx Oliveira wants Conor McGregor, and if he beats Islam, I think he's going to get him.
When is that fight supposed to happen again?
October 22nd.
Okay, so we called it at the beginning of the year, this year, that by the end of 2022, Islam would be champion. And I'm telling you, our prediction is going to come out true on that. And it's really crazy because Charles Oliveira is a beast. He just got better and better to the point where he's just an incredible champion. But there was a certain point in Charles's career where he was almost on his way out of the UFC. The guy couldn't even get someone to corner him to some of his fights because he was just basically like shunned away. He wasn't expected to go anywhere where he is today. But this guy worked so hard. He really delivered, and he has everything to be a champion. The only difference is he's coming up against Islam. Islam is a beast. It doesn't matter where he's fighting. He could be fighting in Brazil. The crowd will not have this guy. This guy is dangerous. He's a Khabib prodigy. He's a Dagestanian beast. The guy is dangerous. And you know what's worse? They're going to fight in Abu Dhabi. They're going to have the whole country of Abu Dhabi behind Islam. And to be honest, man, that's going to be a tough fight for Charles. And I really predict this. Whoever wins that fight will be facing Conor McGregor. I'm telling you, if it's not Charles, it's going to be Islam. And the reason why it could be Islam, because it's almost like a revenge fight for Conor to go after Khabib. Because Khabib will be there in the corner, and if anything happens, like as crazy as it did the last time they met, it'll happen with these guys. There's going to be some shenanigans that are going to happen
It'll be crazy.
During the fight, before the fight, and after the fight. I'm telling you, man, it's going to be bad because Conor's going to bring all his thugs because, you know, Islam is bringing all the Dagestanian team, and we saw what happened when they first fought. I'm telling you, it's going to be – I'm looking more – towards Islam against Conor than Conor against Charles. And I'm telling you, man, remember what I said. Conor's going to retire from this sport with controversy. But
I don't know if Conor gets the title shot. If Islam wins, I don't know if Conor gets the title shot because Islam's not going to be calling for Conor. He'll probably call for Michael Chandler or somebody else in the division that's more worthy of a title shot. I don't think Islam will call for Conor. I don't think he will.
He will, because you know what Conor's going to do? Conor is going to play, because Conor is like a psychology master, man. He's going to start calling Islam on things that we shouldn't be talking about. It could be religious-based. It could be Khabib-based. He's going to
He's not going to get a fight on that. He won't get a fight on that.
You know who's going to do that? Dana White and team, man. That is a money fight. That's a pay-per-view blockbuster. Because you know what? It's
I agree, but I don't think Islam wants it.
It's going to happen, man. It's going to be East versus West Part 2. And I'm telling you, man, Conor's looking jacked, man. If you don't believe me, Google him, man. He is ridiculous.
He's looking inflated. He's looking like he couldn't even make 170. I don't know what the hell
I don't see him making 170. I don't know how.
He doesn't look in fight shape.
Oh, he does, man. He looks jacked.
He looks in beach shape. He looks beach ready, but not fight ready. It's a different
beach ready. No. He listen, man. I'm telling you, this
guy lives on a yacht. The guy lives on a yacht. Do you think he's fighting? Come on, man. Get real.
Man, look at this guy's size, man. He reminds me. I'm looking at him.
He's gonna get smashed.
He looks like Vito Belfort, man.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The whole body. I don't know, dude.
I don't know.
I'm just saying.
It's weird. It's weird to me that you've been around martial arts your whole life. Yet, when you see like a jacked Conor McGregor, you're like, oh, shit, man, muscles. All of a sudden, muscles mean everything to you? Bro, come on.
No,
man.
not at all. Not at all. It doesn't mean anything to me. It just shows
inflated
to me
muscles, too? You know how tired he'd get?
Listen, man, they're not inflated. This guy is looking ripped. And I'm going to tell you something.
Puffy.
It's not that muscles make the difference. We saw that with the beginning of UFC 1 with Royce Gracie that came in and took down everybody. We seen him fight guys like Ken Shamrock, that were ripped to the beast. And actually, Ken Shamrock is one of the real guys that stand out for me in the UFC to start the trend of the UFC life to where we are today. Ken Shamrock.
If Ken Shamrock didn't come to the WWF in the late 90s, Ken Shamrock went to WWF, right? And they called him World's Most Dangerous Man, Ken Shamrock. I wouldn't have known the UFC existed. Ken Shamrock... Well, because he was in WWF, and it's like, oh, he was in this thing, UFC, and it was real fighting, and I'm like, whoa, they have real fighting? Then I went, I got the VHS, and, the rest is history, but, like, Ken Shamrock is the reason why I know the UFC is a thing. Right? So
exactly.
Of course,
exactly.
all praise to Ken Shamrock. AJ, I know where you're going to be on this, even though you're going to be wrong. Angelo sent me this tweet, and he wants to know our thoughts about this. So this is John Jones, who tweeted out, one of my friends texted me this. I just figured I would throw it up on my Twitter. Nothing else to say. Everybody talking about who's the greatest of all time and saying it's Khabib.
Yep.
There's John Jones. 14 title fight wins in the UFC. Khabib, 13 total fights in the UFC. You tell me who the greatest of all time is. I know my answer. This guy right here, Johnny Bones Jones. He might not be the best guy in the history of the UFC. In fact, he's definitely not. He may be one of the worst, but by God, he is the greatest fighter to ever grace that octagon. Nobody better than Johnny Bones Jones. Khabib, and this is the talk about Khabib now. Right when Khabib retired, everybody said, greatest of all time, retired undefeated, greatest of all time. But now you're looking at Khabib's career, and you look at what other people are doing, and you say, you know, he just didn't have the longevity in MMA to be considered the greatest of all time. He didn't have the title defenses. He didn't have enough fights. He retired a little too early to be considered the greatest of all time. You want to talk about wins. You want to talk about being undefeated. You want to talk about being a champion and defending the championship. That's Johnny Bones Jones. Undefeated, undisputed, unbeaten. Beat Daniel Cormier twice. Beat him twice. Beat everybody. Beat everybody in their prime. Smashed them. Undefeated in the UFC. I mean, come on. Khabib, 13 fights in the UFC. John Jones, 14 title victories in the UFC. I mean, plus a bunch of other fights that he had. Like, come on, man. John Jones is the greatest of all time. Might not be the greatest man of all time, but as far as UFC fighters and the career and everything, I don't think that there's a doubt. It's John Jones, and you can make an argument, and I know, AJ, you don't like John Jones, and there's the
No,
PED.
I never said I don't like him.
Oh, yeah, but it's clear that you don't. There's the PED accusations and all that stuff, and sure, but when John Jones was fighting, a lot of people were on PEDs. I'm not really one of those guys that wants to put an asterisk next to you because you were on PEDs. I figure if you're in a PED
How about
era,
cocaine?
you know, yeah, cocaine I don't think is helpful to your fighting career. So if he's doing cocaine and drinking, I don't think that's very helpful. So, yeah, I think John Jones is probably the greatest UFC fighter of all time. George St. Pierre is up there, but, you know, he lost a couple times. John Jones hasn't. If you look at numbers and records and all that stuff, yeah, John Jones. He's the guy.
Man, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. If Jones makes it to a heavyweight fight and he dominates and he becomes the champion of the heavyweight division, I'll tell you, I'll be the first one to say, Dave, you're absolutely right. This is the greatest fighter of all time. No question about it.
If he beats Stipe,
right.
even
if he beats Stipe. And I'm going to tell you, like, and I can see Jones coming back down to light heavyweight to say, you know what, look, I went up there, destroyed him, I'm going to come back down here and just take over the throne. Look, I'm not going to take away from everything he's done. There's no doubt about it. He's just on the forefront to be considered the greatest fighter of all time. My biggest beef with him is the substances that have been in his body during the lead up to the fights or during the fights. And that's what bothers me. Were substances the factor for him, like, getting through some of those wins? You know, Daniel Cormier can argue that and be like I agree with AJ. He's right. You know, but the thing is, that's what the case is. You know, I don't know, man. You know, you can say all you want about Khabib, but Khabib, man, walked away and like dominated the division. Yeah, he didn't have as many like, you know, championship like rematches or whatnot like Jones has had. But you know, if we have to look at the greatest fighter of all time, it usually goes to the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division has always been a special division.
Yeah, I don't think you can go there with this, though.
No, you can't. But if Jones goes to the heavyweight division and is able to beat John Jones, a killer in the heavyweight division with who is there now,
Yeah, there's
I'll
no
be
debate.
hands down. There's no debate. I'll be with you. I'll lay it on the line. I'll be the first one to go to his legendary accolades and awards and Hall of Fame and everything. I'll go down there and I'll be in there wearing a John Jones hat to say, you know what, hands down, this guy's done it. But we'll see what happens, dude. Right now, man, it's hard for me to say. I think Khabib, I have a little bit of, direction towards him, but Jones is still there, man. And if Jones is able to get that one fight in heavyweight and actually dominate whoever he fights, which is going to be Stipe, hopefully, you know what? I'm going to be like,
it's the numbers, man. It's the numbers that John Jones has put up. It's the career. It's the title defenses. It's everything. It's hard to argue with him as being the greatest of all time. Just a reminder, this weekend there's no UFC. It's next week. There's no UFC pay-per-view, no fight night, nothing to bet on this weekend. I have no idea.
No Bellator, no PFL.
Nothing. There's no MMA this weekend. I have no idea why, but there's nothing. I don't know what you're supposed to watch this weekend. Next weekend. What?
It's a perfect time to go out with the family and kids and enjoy a Saturday night, man.
Sure. UFC Paris is next weekend. It's Cyril Gane versus Tai Tuivasa. The co-main event is Robert Whittaker against Marvin Vettori. It's pretty good. You've also got John McDessie against Nasrat Haqparast, which if you know either of these guys passed, That's a real interesting fight there. McDessie against Nasrat, right? Because Nasrat is trained with TriStar. He might have Faraz in his corner. I know McDessie used to train there, and he kind of left on... It didn't seem like great terms, so maybe a little beef between these two fighters. And, of course, another great Montreal fighter, Charles Air Jourdain, will be fighting in France against Nathaniel Wood. So our buddy Charles Jourdain will be fighting next Saturday. So he's just 8 days away now from that fight. Cyril Gane and Tai Tuivasa in the main event. Unfortunately, this card begins at noon for the prelims, 3 p.m. for the main card. But at 1 p.m. in Wales, I think it is, it's WWE's Clash at the Castle. So we got like a big wrestling show, a big WWE show, a stadium show going on in Europe at the same time as this UFC show. So there's going to be a lot of action on a Saturday afternoon, next Saturday, September the 3rd, when the UFC and the WWE go head-to-head once again. And I'll be on right after WWE Clash at the Castle to review the event. But, UFC and WWE, it seems like they do it a lot these days. Once again, next weekend, on at the same damn time. 1 p.m. Eastern for the WWE show, and then 3 p.m. Eastern for the UFC show. So,
listen, man, it is odd, and it's happening a lot. Maybe they're planning it. I have no idea. But
I think they are.
All to say is that there was one fight that's not happening. I was really looking forward to it. That got canceled was the Manon Fiorot versus Jessica Andrade. And I said that Manon Fiorot is the one to watch, man. This girl she is unbelievable. I really like her. I really like her fighting style. She's mean. She can stand up. She can go to the ground. This is the girl to watch for the future. So if you want to put some money in the future to people who don't know a name of who's coming up, Manon Fiorot is the one. Remember, she is unbelievable. It's too bad it's canceled, man. It would have been a great start.
Thank you to Angelo Contagonis. He says, great show, guys. Have a great weekend. Angelo, you are our Super Chat leader of the night. Thank you, my friend. And, yes, I am reminded by the production team that not only next Saturday will we be doing a post-show for WWE Clash at the Castle, but next Sunday after AEW's All Out, we'll also be doing a post-show, and that'll be on super late on a Sunday, and I got to be up super early on a Monday.
Why?
School. I got to take the boy to school.
Oh, my God, man. It's already that time again, eh?
Yeah. I mean, he's been in preschool, and he starts kindergarten next week. So,
wow. It's crazy, man. Time flies, man.
It really does. And time has flown by here on this show. The show is over. We're over time. We are done. I'll be back here tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, to talk some professional wrestling with Johnny North. Oh, it's Labor Day. Oh, that's good. Labor Day on the Monday, so I'll get to sleep in a bit. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Let me go change some diapers now.
God. Oh, my God. That is really good. Yes. I'll be back tomorrow night to talk pro wrestling with Johnny North. And let me tell you, I think there's some good pro wrestling stuff to talk about tomorrow night. CM Punk, John Moxley, Hangman Page, all that controversy. John Moxley beating CM Punk last night in like 5 minutes. I think we'll have some AEW to talk about. We'll also have some WWE to talk about. There's a lot going on in the world of professional wrestling. We were not on last week. We will be on tomorrow night to talk everything professional wrestling, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Friday nights for Wrestling Uncensored right here on the Ringside Report Network. Shout out to AJ DeLesio and Caden DeLesio. Hey, Caden. Good night, Caden.
Hey, Dave.
Good night, everybody. Thank you to Patrick C. Hamilton and Angelo Contagonis for supporting the show tonight. Angelo, you are our Super Chat leader. Thank you to all the members. We appreciate you, and we'll see you again tomorrow night right here on the Ringside Report Network.
Please join in and give your support to Ringside Report Network. We've been providing expert coverage and commentary on both pro wrestling and MMA for over 15 years. Go to ringsidereport.net/support to find out more ways to support the channel.